Patrick Cook here. So welcome to session number 3 of our fun with Mandelbulb3D Mutations, tutorial series number 4. So in the previous session I was talking about the MutaGen, that its basic functionality is that it will create 2 generations of multiple children, all right, based upon the incoming formula construct, which will then modify various attributes of the formula construct that we brought in. Okay? And it really is as simple as that. Now, that's the functionality, all right? And it's easy enough to understand the functionality. What it's doing is it's creating children, or we can think of these as mutations. All right, child number 1, which is the base formula construct that's brought in, will create a mutation called mutation 2. Here's 2.2. Here's 2.22. Okay, like that. That's the functionality. That's pretty straightforward. Now, the real question is, when would you use the mutagen? When? When would you use the mutagen? Boy, that's okay. Anyway, I can think of 3 use cases. Okay. Use case number 1 is to increase your productivity and your creativity. All right, increase productivity and creativity. So it's easy enough to understand that. If I was to be over here in my main editor, and I said, yeah, I want to change that. Okay, so let me experiment. So let's change the min-r property of formula number 2, the A box mod 1. Let's change the min-r to 1, and let's see what happens. Okay, calculate it. Okay, I don't like that so much. Okay, let's change it to, it used to be a 0, let's change it to 0.5. Okay, interesting. Okay, all right, now I could get the navigator up here, and I can start messing around with, well, I could change the position. Let's slide down a bit. Okay, let's look up a bit. Okay. Change the scale. Okay, that's interesting. Let's increase the iteration count from 3 to 4. Okay. All right, now let's push this back to main. Calculate it. Okay. All right. So anyway, there is absolutely nothing wrong with modifying the formula properties up here, recalculating, or using the navigator, in which case I can modify the formula construct properties and iteration count, and I can also do some navigation. There's nothing wrong with that. Will you get to your final destination? And final destination means a graphic that you like, either a base graphic for animation or a still that you want to render out and possibly have printed and put up on your wall. Okay. Will you get to your will you get to a great graphic that way? Yeah, you will. It's the manual process of doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, the trick is, if you take that process, that manual process, the trick to productivity and creativity is to keep doing it and keep making the modifications until you get a graphic that you say, wow, I like that graphic. That's really going to work well for an animation, or I like that, that graphic as a still. Now, you're not necessarily very productive with that particular approach, but you're creative, and that's cool. All right. So now, use case number one for the MutaGen would be to increase your productivity and your creativity by allowing a tool within the Mandelbulb application to do some work for you. Let's mutate what I have. All right, so there's my 2 generations of mutations, children, okay? All right, now that's cool. Now, let's say, oh, I like this. I like this one right here. So what I want to do is I want to send that back up to the main editor, and I do that by right mouse click and then send to main editor, like that. I got to recalculate. All right. So there we go. So that's a mutation. That's a mutation. All right. And that was generated by MutaGen. And if we take a look now at the formula construct, let's see what we got. We're still in alternate mode. Formula number, okay, now formula 1 slot had, it's using a different transform. Formula number 2 slot, it's still using a box mod 1. Now I don't know what the changes to these properties are because I didn't record the previous a mod 1. But what's the point is that the MutaGen has actually created a mutation right here, which is in generation number 1, mutation 1, and then it took this mutation and it made modifications to formulas, properties, whatever, to produce this mutation, which then it took the formula properties of this mutation and made this mutation. So this mutation right here, mutation 2.1.1, is 2 generations, 2 mutations removed from the original. All right, so mutation 1, that mutant was mutated. This mutant was mutated to give me this. Now, would I have accomplished that manually? Maybe, probably not. Probably not. So the MutaGen is an excellent tool for mutating mutants, mutating several depths down, if that's an acceptable explanation. And what it does is it allows me, as the user of the Mandelbulb3D fractal generator, it allows me to discover more depth than I probably otherwise would have discovered manually. All right, so use case number 1 is to increase productivity and increase creativity. All right, so, all right, enough for this session. I'll see you in the next session where we'll continue to talk about the MutaGen use cases. All right, I'll see you there.